Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Need to Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and I am joined by my co host, a friend who, in all honesty, I would love even if they were quirkless. Wes Singleton.
Do I have a quirk?
Yeah, it's to make me smile, man.
That's a solid quirk.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I think it's even broader than that, personally. But
Oh, you're saying that your quirk is bigger than just making me smile.
Professionally, I'm doing my job very good when a bunch of people are smiling, that being
Oh,
kids.
there you go. Sure. I mean, that does take a special personality. It's basically a quirk. We are going to be talking about My Hero Season 5 today. And it's crazy to think that we caught up with the anime. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. This is one of the first things we committed to reviewing.
Yeah. And, we took a long time to kind of do it, but I think that... Oh, man, we'll get into it. But before we do, Wes, before we get into that, before we even get into our nerd fact of the week, I just, with us kind of going every other week, I wanted to do a little segment at the beginning of the show, just talk about what we've been up to. Like, what have we been doing? Where have our nerd gadgets been turning? What about you?
Oh, well, my nerd gadgets have been Google Drive and Canvas a little bit the last couple of weeks. In a lot of ways, I think that most of my creative high order energy that I feel good and up to on weekends, in the evening, those sorts of things, have mostly gone towards that end. And I feel like the rest of the time I've just been, watching. I did watch a good bit of anime last weekend. I will absolutely put it in there. I watched. I caught up on Demon Slayer. I watched Carol and Tuesday, a Netflix show that I thought was fun in lots of ways, and like most anime, had plenty of places where I could point to it as not the best depiction of everything that I want, and that's okay. But the music's good for it. I don't know. I've been having a good time. Been watching lots of Star Trek as well.
Awesome, dude. I have been playing tons of Magic the Gathering. Just like a lot.
Oh, good, because I have totally stepped off of Magic for a little while. So tell me about what's going on.
Well, I mean, standard bannings happen, and as well as a couple of changes to some other formats. But I just honestly have been playing with some close friends of mine, Quentin and Matthew, two of just my best friends, and I don't know. It's been really good to just hang out with these guys more and
That's cool.
play Magic with them. I also got to see Spider-Man with my wife. I think a couple weeks ago. I think we had recorded a podcast since then, but got to see Spider-Man, and then
That's one you have to process, anyways.
it was good. I really enjoyed it. Tom Holland isn't my favorite Spider-Man. My favorite Spider-Man has always been Andrew Garfield, for what it's worth.
I do think that it is fun that we get to put those to the test, though, in this one.
Spoiler alert, but the Renaissance...
I thought I was on the... I thought that was only coming...
Oh, no, I know. I'm going to do it.
Oh.
I think that all of these people jumping on the Andrew Garfield bandwagon after the internet just drug him through the mud is awesome. I'm just glad you guys finally came around. It's funny because
on the internet is a tornado.
Hold on, most people would think that I'd be like gatekeeping here, but I'm not. I'm really glad you guys caught up and that we now can appreciate the fact that he is hysterical as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. So, yeah, those kind of the big things. I started playing Red Dead Redemption Online.
Oh.
I started
a MOBA, or not a MOBA. Sorry, massive multiplayer online, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's got some interesting dynamics to it.
Okay.
But it's been fun, and I don't know. And then also I am been playing KOTOR in bed a lot on my Switch. So.
Yeah, I need to get back to it, but I also have to find the time, find the space, the energy. but I'll get there, Spencer.
You know who also needed to find the energy was Bakugo. This week's Nerd Fact of the Week might blow your mind, West. Bakugo's original character in the early designs was extremely nice and carefree, and so carefree that he would say things that would just offend people. Very much a Spencer Howland-esque character. He was not
so impulsive, upbeat, but oftentimes out of sync with other people.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that describes people I know in my life, namely me. And you as well.
Yeah, I think that actually would have been a more interesting Bakugo for what it's worth.
In ways, absolutely. I think that the conversation around when and how and why does a hero smile that Bakugo's having internally all the time, I think is a really complex question, and I wonder how a different Bakugo would treat, or I guess the Bakugo. Okay, why? I had myself on Midoriya for a while there, but no, Bakugo, absolutely. That's a wildly different Bakugo.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Bakugo.
Yeah, no, I my head was not on that one. I dropped that ball.
Yeah, I think that he would have been different. There are things that I don't know that would have worked well, like his kidnapping doesn't work as well. Like there are things that kind of get changed in a lot of ways if his character changes that much, but it would have been a different show. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's the difference of writing Bakugo like the edgy anime anti-hero versus the like typical anime protagonist of like everything just bounces right off of them. And I don't know. I think that different ways that they could tell an interesting story around what's happening. For sure.
Let's get into the housekeeping really quick so that we can dive into our main topic. First of all, the Discord. We are still doing those Valheim nights. I haven't picked one for February yet. I've been pretty busy, but we will do one. We have just had some really awesome stuff go on in there. We've got people playing for the first time. We've got people who are more experienced. And Valheim should have another update really soon. And when it does have that update, when it's announced the date, I will be giving another 3 copies of Valheim away from this podcast to continue to support what really has become one of my top 5 favorite games. I actually have started a series.
Well, you've campaigned for it pretty hard with your dollars now, Spencer.
I think it's just absolutely unbelievably amazing as a game.
Well, what I hope it does is that it eventually multi-platforms, which is even more ways to spend money on Valheim. Which is
if
job,
they gave me, I play, for example, Minecraft on my Switch with my son. Like, in all honesty, I wish that like just Mac users, right? Just take it Epic Games and I would be happy.
Yeah, no, I actively wish I could have it on my laptop. That's for sure.
Do you have a MacBook?
Yeah,
that makes sense. I think that would be great. Anyway, so we've got that, but we also have the return of the Constructive Criticism Open Series. We tried to do a Heezy Game Media version of this last year, and I got really busy because I got a brand new job, but it is returning. It's sponsored by Oasis Games. So yeah, we got our first event in February coming up. Prizes sponsored by Oasis Games with additional prizes. So if you're a Magic player, you want to be a part of that, it's in our Discord. And yeah, it's a huge part of the kind of the Heezy Game Media family, CCMTG, and the Discord is linked on the event. We'll be running conversations for it through there. Really quickly, just a quick note on the Patreon. I'm looking for feedback for it. Reach out to me. We'll have a conversation. Maybe I'll buy you lunch. Maybe
somebody's on top of it. It sounds like
buy you a video game. What do you mean?
Your notification. Sorry.
Oh, oh yeah, just psychics. Yeah, they're. It actually is from Patreon for what it's worth. But if anybody has any feedback and things that they'd be looking for in this, we have some pretty awesome engaged listeners that have already given me feedback the last few weeks, and it's meant the world. I've gotten feedback that people would like us to go back to weekly, and it's honestly just kind that people want that in more than anything. Like this
Yeah.
is something that they look forward to, and it's
No, I agree. That's more of a like. I feel more obligated in like you didn't have to way than like that's one of the more dominant ways of feeling about that, because right now it's just what we can do.
yeah, it's honestly just so kind. This week at a Magic tournament, we did the eldest review and we called out Patty B. And this week at a Magic tournament, he showed me where he was at in Bersinger, and he's just like, I'm so excited for this series. Like, it's really
Heck
made
yeah.
me connect with these books again. Somebody else told me a couple of weeks ago how excited they were for this episode, that they love how passionate I get about my hero,
Boy,
and
do you.
this is gonna be a different episode, guys.
No, and I've strapped in for this one. I'm full ready to go for this.
If you have feedback about the Patreon and things that we could do, to even if you don't have the funds right now, I know that times are hard for people. Reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about like what do you look for in the Discord? What do you look for in benefits? What do you look for in bonus content? Stuff like that. So, but enough about the housekeeping. Let's go directly into My Hero Academia Season 5, a podcast review. I'm going to read the what is it this week.
Okay.
With his fist raised in the air, Endeavor has truly claimed the spot of the number one hero. But does everybody think so? After All Might's fall, we saw a true hole in hero society. Many question how it can be filled, and some question if it even should be. With that hole comes another one. All for One has been captured, and some believe that a theory of a quirk singularity is approaching. Heroes will rise, but will the villains fall? And are villains really bad, or do circumstances create something else? Season 5 of My Hero Academia is darker, deeper, and pulls no punches as it sets up the future of this very popular superhuman society.
I hope it stays populous as well. I'm gonna be real here.
Yeah. So, oh man. Okay. So we're gonna have some spoiler-free thoughts. If you're not caught up on this season of this anime,
Yeah,
we will let
what was
you.
I thinking before I sat down to this season?
Okay. So this part will be the last part that's spoiler-free for what it's worth, people, and then we will go into spoilers. So I'm gonna go on my first thoughts first on watching it, West, while you collect.
I got it there. I'm
yeah,
there.
You're there. Oh man. We'll get into what it was later, but there was a moment during this season of this anime where my wife came downstairs and I was sobbing, like broken down on the couch, tweeting, saying, I don't know if I can watch this show anymore. I am so broken and sad. I might cry right now. I don't know if I can watch this anymore. And the thing is I was thinking about this last night, and how I consume so much young adult content in the books that I read and stuff, and how if like, some of my best friends like Mason will tell me if things are really dark because I don't like it. The thing is like scary movies don't give me bad dreams or don't scare me, but they give me really bad dreams.
Oh sure.
And dark things give me really bad dreams. And This season has so many. It does such a good job. We kind of talked about it in the season 4 review, where there is so much buildup of these happy moments, and this season has them too, where you feel hope and joy, and you believe things. And then it just rips your heart to pieces. Like, in a way you never expected. Or maybe no. You expected it, but like I did not expect my heart to be ripped the way that it was. And it asks huge questions. In all honesty, like, If we were to like rank seasons of My Hero Academia, I have no idea where I would put this one.
I feel like you could put it anywhere between 1 and 5, make a bold claim and make a statement about it, and it would probably be valid in a whole bunch of ways. But that's just because like it's 5 good seasons of television.
Right.
They all deserve to be on the top 5. And the order is mostly just about taking things like the things you most appreciate and putting those above the rest.
Yeah, so for me, my first thoughts watching this season were of, well, first of all, I love tournament arcs, so we'll just say that. And this was an interesting one.
I like games arcs.
Yeah, sure.
Than tournament
there you
arcs.
go.
The less it's about an audience and the more it's about pride, yeah, give me that stuff.
And then the second is just like, oh man, I don't know if I can talk much more without getting into spoilers, but this season was heavy, and heavy in a lot of ways and in different ways. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna cry during this episode, so I might need to go get some tissues. It was. I'm like at a loss for words, Wes. Why don't you go? Because I actually can't. I don't know how to express the way I felt about the season.
So, going into the start of the season, we are looking at a return to the like status quo baseline normalcy of the show, right? Like we're at school, we're becoming better heroes, we're having a good time with it, we're learning from our past experiences, right? And we get that. We get a good bit of it too. And it opens up new questions as it always does. It, explores deeper as it always does. But it's nostalgic for where the show's been, right? Like that's part of the reason why the fall feels so far, is because like the beginning of this gets you right to that precipice where like you're sated on like the good vibes of these characters, so that like the next can transition you just in a whole bunch of disorienting directions, right? Like there's a lot of striving to be better, to do more in the rest of it, and a lot of failure to live up to that expectation. And some successes. Right? It's both. And like where and how and who it costs you to do that is being examined at every point.
I think that this season asked more questions of me than the rest of the seasons combined. One of the things that we talked about in our last episode, right, when we were reviewing Eldest, is I liked the questions it was asking me.
Yeah.
I was talking to my therapist today, during a therapy appointment, and which, by the way, normalize people.
By the way, we actually have the same therapy day. The same therapy day, right? Thursday is our.
Oh, mine isn't just Thursday. Mine is just when it can fit into my schedule.
Sure, but today was, I guess.
Oh, there you go. But one of the things I've been watching this season to prepare for this episode, and in addition to watching the season, I had some other thoughts about kind of some other things that involve like humanizing people and dehumanizing people. And this season really makes you question what that looks like. And I think that I have not answered those questions for myself yet, and thus it can make it hard to talk about this spoiler free.
Well, there we go.
Should we?
I think we have gone as far as we dare into this. Anyone who's listening to
or watching,
let's talk about season 5 for no spoilers, has watched 4 seasons of this show, so they know already what to expect in terms of like why they like to be there. And we can promise that it has it and so much more.
Yeah, that's true. Go watch it. There's your warning. Overall impressions. This is a high-level look into why we loved what we were reviewing. And it might not sound like I loved this season, Wes, but I just talked about how like I questioned if I could continue watching it, but it wasn't.
No, that I strong emotion, good or bad, is what we want art to do for us, right? Like, we want to feel vivid emotion, and you were feeling vivid emotion.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So there's so many places to start. What makes somebody a hero? And what makes somebody a villain is probably the questions being asked in this season for the most part. But it's not just like what makes Deku a hero, what makes Uraraka a hero, what makes Bakugo or Todoroki. It's also like, is Endeavor a hero? Is being a hero good? Also, is Shigaraki a villain? Is he a victim? Like, what is what is this society?
The question being asked has changed, right, from what is being a hero and what does it mean to be a villain. I think in this season, very purposefully, it is far more blended in that the question is, are the reasons you're fighting worth it? Are they valid? Right? Like, do they move you? And that's what's being tested at every point here, right? Like, everyone's being pushed to their limits to, live out their values as best they can here in this season.
We did that villain bracket review, and my entire opinion of Shigaraki is just out the window. Like, I don't even know how I feel about him anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I feel about Endeavor anymore. My wife is a victim of abuse, and we had long conversations about the Endeavor arc. We would talk long after watching the episodes, and it's really easy for people who like, let's pretend for a second that Todoroki and his family are real people, okay?
Yeah.
It's really easy for West and I to sit and say what Shoto and his family should do, because we're not in it.
Yeah.
And I think that there was like this huge uproar on the internet that's like, how dare you try and make me like Endeavor? And it's like, I don't know that that's the question being asked here. I don't know that the question is, do you like Endeavor? You don't have to like Endeavor. I think
you can also begin to see like validity in, no one is their worst mistake, and no one is only their greatest achievement.
Yeah, and Todoroki has
like or dislike Endeavor is to focus on only one, if you ask
right.
me.
Oh, I completely agree. And there's a moment where Shoto really talks about it. It's actually before Midoriya and Bakugo even get there, where his brother walks out and he's like, I don't know how I feel, Dad. Like, I don't know. You are both the dude that just did that amazing thing and lifted your hand and gave hope to everyone, including me. Like, we felt hopeless after All Might was gone, and you just restored it. But you're also my abuser, and I'm conflicted. And West and I, we don't get to decide how Shoto feels.
No, not at all.
Shoto gets to decide, and obviously Shoto's made of character.
Show writers get to decide. Right.
But like, the question being asked here is the victims of.
Go ahead. I also have a question that's being asked here, so I want to hear yours, and I also want to share mine. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I don't even know that it's a question being asked. I think the lesson being taught, at least I hope, and I think that Midoriya and honestly Bakugo do a good job of like, this isn't our business, but like, if you want our advice, here it is.
Yeah.
But like, at the end of the day, it is you who needs to make the decision if you forgive your dad or if you want to love him or however you want to feel.
Yeah. And that events unfold, right? Like that's the unfairness in all of their like conversations and musings and like working it through together, is that because it's a narrative that we're going to watch that's about superhero action, we're also going to see some things like force its hand.
But I wish I remember the other son's name. Of
I can get it for you in a moment.
But
Go ahead.
I think that his response after being kidnapped was like, also we're like going real deep down this storyline. There's so many good storylines, by the way. Really quickly, for those who might not be aware, because I'd like to get into West's overall impressions, rather than just like diving deep into stuff. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. Are there 5 arcs in this? 2 of the arcs only covering 2 episodes because 2 of them are from the previous season, making it 4 episodes, and then 2 of them are at the end of the season.
And are probably going to be where we start in the next
Yeah,
season.
definitely going to be where we start in the next season. So it's like this. I really liked how they did it, which is really funny because I think that was your could be better almost for season 4. Was you were like, why did it end that way?
Oh,
But
I mean,
man,
did
it like now
Okay,
we
so this
know
is-
why it ended that way.
Well, also, I will also say that I know full well that it is my not so much like privilege or like entitlement, but also like, boy, have I gotten accustomed to like being able to watch seasons back to back of
Oh,
things
yeah, you
and
binge-
like
you
know
binge-
how things actually cap, and I don't even pay attention one lick when I'm binge watching a show to how they're structured, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't know when a season ends and when it starts, right? Like I don't care. Oh no, I'm on season 3 episode 7.
Oh
When
yeah,
did
and
that happen?
My Hero is like the one where I mean, as we know, if you're new to the show, you don't know this, but like I'll watch the Japanese release when it comes out by myself. I will then watch the English release by myself when it comes out, and then I will then watch the English release with my wife when she gets the chance, and then I'll watch it again for the show. So I have seen every episode at least 4 times.
Yeah, so that's just an absurd number of times. I have watched it like any decent person, enough to be able to talk intelligently about it.
Sure.
Maybe that's what it takes, Spencer.
I am curious though, like my overall impression is the questions being asked here. I'm curious like what your overall impression of the season was.
One part of it is, what does it mean to grant power to people in your society who in no small part commit violence as their job? Right? That is ultimately part of the hero's job, right? Is fighting, is actual putting your body on the line with something else, and you are also given power the better you are at it. And power in this case also means the ability to not have your authority questioned. That's one aspect of the conversation. Another aspect of the conversation is just reminding everyone, right? Like just a return to basics of understanding a situation, which is that everybody is going to approach it from their own place with their own story, right? With their own reasons and motivations. And we see that in the season in spades.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things that when you have a baby, you really come to appreciate the ability to realize that people still exist and things still exist when they're out of your vision, right? And
Sure.
it's funny, right? Because like it wasn't until this year that I realized that there are like humans that, and in fact, I believe I have some friends that really suffer from like the reason that they never text me first or like is because like I don't exist until I'm at the forefront, right?
Well, I mean, and I struggle with that every day of my darn life because just ADHD causes that, Spencer, right?
I know. I
right.
didn't.
We just like full on anything that's not in front of our faces.
So I actually don't suffer from this, for what it's worth.
You're very lucky.
I am very aware. And I have realized that like some of my very closest friends, like just, it is not that they're not thinking about me. It is that it's just not how their brains work. And I think that something that we have to remember and have to appreciate from what you're talking about here is like sometimes things, whether you're disassociating, whatever's happening, sometimes you're not the main character in your own story.
That's true.
And when you're not, I think life gets a lot harder.
And right, people act in a certain way when they believe they're the main character in ways, right? Like, and they act in a different way when they know that they're not. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Exactly.
It's the reason we totally like shelve half of our bodies when someone more famous than us is around. Right, like half of everything you are goes away the moment you run into someone who has celebrity in some way, right? Because you're like,
that's funny,
right? Because you're thinking how do I want to be, how do I want to be seen in part of it.
Let's talk about favorite characters.
Deal.
This season was interesting. I'm gonna change this question. I should have done this in the show notes. You can pick a favorite villain, and you can pick another favorite character. I'll let you go first.
Good deal. Oh, that was rude.
I can go first. Do you want me to go first?
Change it on me.
No, I can go first.
Okay.
I cannot believe I'm about to say this. My favorite character this season is Bakugo. I think that, and that was not true until 2 days ago when I rewatched it. But Bakugo is different. And we saw some of that happening last season, but
oh yeah, he's most improved in a lot of ways, right?
He
like
still sucks monkey butt, but he also doesn't. I don't know how to explain it. Like, he went from I hate you, and I think that you kind of suck, to, all right, dude, I get it. I get what you're going through.
Grudging acceptance.
Yeah,
is the highest order of caring in Bakugo's life.
Yeah, it's like Bakugo is my favorite. I think that he has improved so much. It honestly, him in the joint training arc was so great. Just he was a real hero. And when he saves his teammates, the whole thing was just great. And then there's this other moment where he's trying so hard to be better than Endeavor, and then just can't get the hint. It's I was faster than you, and shut up, dude. And he's oh, I'm an idiot. And he has that moment of realization. There's just I don't know. He's becoming a real boy, and I really appreciate it. And for what it's worth, I had to try really hard not to say Uraraka in this season, because she also has some of those moments where you're oh my god. The thing is she's sidelined for so much of it, right? She basically just gets the joint training arc, whereas Bakugo gets way more episodes. But her hugging Deku and had that moment where I just want to give a special shout out to when she's asking who's there to protect the heroes, oh, and she jumps in there to try and calm Deku down, and it was I might cry right now. My favorite villain, it's so hard to
who what are the limits of villains, right? That's the other part of this, right?
It's
who's the biggest bad guy of the season? There's a lot of bad guys.
Yeah,
some of them are in the League of Villains.
There's so many bad guys in this season. I think that maybe now I'm gonna have a hard time. It's between two for me. First of all, are we saying that we can't say Endeavor for villain, and we can't say Endeavor for hero?
I think that we can put front and center that Endeavor is in a we have to even clarify, right? Whether or not he's a part of it, where he falls.
I don't think he falls into either category.
Well, and that's meaningful, right? I think that's what sets him apart, right? He's not the favorite character of the season. He is the character of the season because all eyes are on him.
It's so weird. It's
right? The narrative follows him closer than it follows just about anyone else.
Oh yeah, we definitely got. And
Like, we know everything Endeavor has done during the whole time.
I honestly don't even know if the Endeavor arc technically is over for the manga as far as the manga to anime go. And I will say this. I think Toga, for what it's worth, is my favorite villain.
Hers was meaningful. I almost went with her.
I think that Toga, so obviously I can't relate to anybody being obsessed with blood or whatever, but I can relate to be told to just smile, be quiet, look normal, act normal. Why are you so weird? Again and again and again and again and again, and I could probably do this for like a trillion times. It's happened in my life.
Yeah, no, it's yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. And I completely can understand how Toga has completely disassociated from her reality and how she doesn't want to be herself. She doesn't want to be in her body because she has been taught that something is wrong with her body. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong with who she is. And she also, there's been so many moments with Toga throughout the seasons that so many other people caught on to that I did not. She's like a fan favorite. And one of the reasons she's a fan favorite is one, she's really cute. Like she's fun. She likes to have fun. People also like that psychotic like nature of her. But there are certain moments where like where she's specifically with I only know his villain name. What is Split's actual name?
Twice.
What is Twice's actual name?
Twice's actual name, Jin Bubaigawara.
So like they have moments in season, I think it's season 3, a couple of times.
We get a little bit of his background in a lot of places.
But but them together, like when we see them when they're together, she's really nice to him. She's also really nice to, I don't know, she's like nice to different people. She also like doesn't hurt anybody when they're when she like goes and gets Deku's blood. She's the one that I'm not sure is actually a bad guy. Like I'm not sure Toga's a villain.
Place of her obsession
is the disassociation.
Is also powerful enough to get her to transcend sides fairly easily. One could think.
Yeah. She's.
But so that's part of the question as well, which is like she has like some really cool powers that have an unfortunate like necessity to them.
Well,
and on top of it, she's embraced being this way because it's better for the world to be scared of her than it is for them to step all over her.
Well, and I'd like you to reverse yours. I'd like you to do villain first, then hero.
Because we've already mentioned my choice.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Before we do, that's great. But I want to mention like the thing you just said encapsulates an entire part of the training arc, which is when, man, I'm gonna forget names, and I'm like it's only because I'm on the spot. The mind control.
That kid's cool. Yeah, I like him a lot. Yeah, there are very similar powers.
Well, no, I'm just saying like he has this whole flashback where people, and we even see it in
But their premise is the same.
Right? Yeah, it's like this whole. The world thinks that I'm meant to be a villain. Like my power is that of a villain, and you have these preconceived notions of these people because of this thing
Shinso.
that they're Shinso. Yeah. It's just it's so real in our society today. Like we don't even have but superhuman abilities. But still today, if somebody is different,
there are people who would behave as if money was a superhuman ability.
I mean, money is a superhuman ability.
Oh, I
Let's be real.
agree, and they're doing it. They're doing it over there
Being
for
born into
sure.
money is a superhuman ability. Um, it's just we need to. We as a society need to learn how to accept that people are different than us. Not
Yeah,
us as in me and West, but that Spencer is different than West.
yeah,
And I don't know, as somebody that was raised where everybody is made. Never mind, I won't get into this. West, go ahead. Who is your villain?
Oh, I'm my favorite villain from this season was Twice. I think he is just. I mean, part of it is that he's the darn nicest dude at all times, basically, right? Like the irony, right, and the intended pun is twice as nice, right? Like that's not me making it up. That's them. Uh, right. I think that he. I like his story. I like the way he's on screen, right? Like I don't much care what's happening to him or happening around him. When he's around, I'm happy about it. I think is part of it as well. And I also think that like his ability can be used for super cool combos, and I think whenever they do that, that's fun too. But like in general, as a member of the League of Villains, I enjoy when Twice is around and how they behave as a group more than when he's not. Which is like, he's like a side comic relief character, but he does it well, and I like him for it.
It's so funny because like we've obviously had two now big points of of Twice, and in both situations, like there's never a moment where I thought he was a bad guy, which is kind of the question that's being called into here, right?
No, like, he's just like behaving almost morally with the tribal considerations he's already declared, right? Like it's kind of what's happening at all times.
Yeah, like obviously he did something bad, right? Deciding he didn't like let's look at him at his base, right?
Or as he's behaving as a character right now in front of us, I think it's actually the place to look at him, because if you take none of his backstory, none of what he's done before, or
sure,
who he works with, he's ethical to the people he's agreed to work with. He's ethical to the people he meets on the streets.
Oh, I think he goes above
when what he's ordered to do.
Yeah, he goes above and
is hurt
beyond
them,
in some
right?
ways.
Like, oh, for sure, I love that about him.
Yeah,
And he goes out of his way to do it. It's
I
like
agree.
that's entertaining as well. And it's part of the reason why he's so great in those scenes where he is interacting with other characters as like a but like in an extra way to his League of Villains role, right? He didn't show up with the League of Villains. He's just there, and like, you know, he's interacting with like things that are happening on the hero side. But like when that occurs, it's like, everyone's better for it. It reminds me in a lot of ways of like when Uncle Iroh has like a one-off episode with someone just like kind of weird, like Toph and Iroh is a
Those
really
are
good
the best
conversation,
episodes.
right?
I feel
Twice
like we
has that
should
capacity
do.
in him.
I feel like we should do an episode just talking about the Uncle Iroh adventures.
Those are good.
Like they're so good. Who's your favorite hero? It's so weird to like call them these at this point, but like student, actual hero.
I mean, I'm a huge Bakugo fan in this season.
Yeah.
I think that at all times do I like, and I think that's part of why I love looking at this show in seasons, is that like these characters grow and change and are meant to change in so many ways throughout the show, that like seeing them now is always really cool, because I like where all of them are at. Everyone's grown cool in Class 1A, right? Like, and in many ways Class 1B, even though we know less about him.
Oh, there's some like really cool Class 1B growth.
Oh, for sure, right? But they just have so much less screen time, right? And that's the unfairness we're talking about here anyways. But like no character do I enjoy how they've improved more than young Bakugo.
Interesting.
He is absolutely like my character that like my eyes are on him, because he's someone who has in a lot of his life heard the commentary of, wow, he has a lot of potential, but some things really need to change for him to have it. And that change is clicked. in many ways.
Yeah, I really like the flashback to his, like, I think it's in the Christmas episode where there's a flashback to his conversation with Best Jeanist, and he gets really vulnerable. Um, and I don't think a lot. I think that this is just a complaint that I have about. Maybe it's not a complaint. I wish people would give more credit to writers and
Sure.
like look above the surface level of some things. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we've had them in a conversation a lot of times, right? Where like I'm like, I wish that you would see that they're literally making fun of. Like Mineta is a way to tell you that this action is not okay, right?
I
And with
agree.
Bakugo, there's this moment that he's talking to Best Jeanist, and it almost feels like he's gonna cry. It's like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
I've picked all these names, and everybody says no to them and he's like, explored explosion, murder, fire, like just kind of goes off, and Best Jeanist gives him this advice, and he's like, these names don't work because you're not looking towards what you want to be and what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And Deku's like, tell me what the name is. And he's like, no, I'm not telling you. I'm telling you Best Jeanist. Like, that's who I said I'd tell. And then we find out, like, 5 minutes later that allegedly Best Jeanist is dead. But,
Yeah.
like, um,
But like that's one of his few attachments, right? Like,
yeah.
and that means something to
It was also
Bakugo.
just, like, the first time that somebody wasn't like, no, you can't have that name. That's stupid. It's like,
Something
hey, man.
that I really appreciate about a certain type of interaction that Bakugo has with Best Jeanist, and I think also that he has with Endeavor, is that Bakugo's respect for things that are more powerful than him is high, right? Like he's got this like primal, like if I'm stronger than you, I'm better than you. If I'm more willing to use violence than you, I'm better than you, right? Like is the like attitude he puts forward, like like it's the reason why he's like arguing with Aiza with their teacher, right? Like that's someone who is going to outclass him every time, but isn't going to give him the fight he wants, right? Whereas like Best Jeanist also won't do that, but is even stronger at that particular skill, and Endeavor is just going to beat him at everything, right?
Yeah,
And like
it's.
that means so much to him that he listens to those people in a way he listens to very few others, and he is made to like look inwards in ways by those people. All Might can do it to him as well.
Well, and I think that the All Might point is one that we see a transition from a kid who is struggling to deal with his trauma from season 3, I think from the beginning of season 3,
Sure.
to okay, I'm ready to deal with this. I'm ready to move forward. I mean, it's so funny that we have that callback to season 3, even in the season where like, isn't that the kid that got kidnapped?
Yeah.
Right? Like Bakugo feels like still to this day feels like he killed the symbol of peace.
Well, and on top of that, I think that he's a person who wants to feel like he has agency in all moments of his life, and more agency than you, right? Like is part of it. And that was the moment where he had the least, and it was very public, right?
It was
like,
very
I think
public.
That's a huge part of it.
And I think that he also, I mean, maybe I'm putting myself a little bit too much in Bakugo's shoes, but like, as a competitor, like, as somebody who's competed at a game at a very high level, I know that for me, I really wanted to beat those who came before me and show those people that I was better than them. Like,
totally, right?
I wanted
acknowledgement from one of your greats is as good
yeah,
as it gets.
I really wanted to just crush the people that like. I mean, I'll just say it on the like. I wanted to crush, like these are names don't mean anything to people, but like the Aaron Muranakas, the
old guard grinders,
the old guard grinders of Utah Magic. Like that's all I wanted in the world. And I think for Bakugo, like he not only looked up to All Might, like All Might wasn't just his favorite hero, but like he wanted to like crush All Might in like the
No, totally. Like, right? It's like I want to meet, learn from, and talk to the best person ever, and then I want to kick their butt. Right? Is how
yeah.
Bakugo feels.
And now he'll never get that chance, and I think he's also while dealing with that trauma, dealing with the loss. So, yeah, I think that kind of wraps up favorite characters. Well, we went a little longer than I want. Or not that I want. I'm glad we had that conversation. Let's go into favorite storyline.
Yeah.
I let you go first last time. Do you want to do? So actually, let me do this because I want to explain to the listener something because it might have been confusing for some, and also it sometimes was confusing for me. So we have the Pro Hero arc, episodes 89 and 90. Then all 91 to 100 was the joint training arc. So that was pretty smooth, right? And then it starts really jumping all around.
Yeah, there's the rest of it is totally a greater story being told, right, from a lot of different perspectives. But the key is that lot of different perspectives, right? Like that's our different like kind of arc associations here.
So the Meta Liberation Army arc is episodes 100, 108, 112.
That one means nothing to me. Right? Like that naming is bad, but like I think that the rest of this season, right? I think there's an arc that is properly ensconced, which is the Endeavor training arc.
Yeah, so that one's 101 to 106.
Yeah, and they're just doing things in chronological order before the setup that they have to endure it, right?
Exactly.
Like, and it's woven into, but then the rest of the season is just firmly this setting up of
well,
like, what
kind of, right? Because there's two different things happening, right?
Yeah.
So episodes 107, which takes place immediately after the Endeavor Agency arc, technically takes place during and before the Endeavor arc.
Sure.
Then episode 108, all the way to episode 112, all take place also before and during the arc. And it actually, I think, during the training arc.
Yeah.
And then episode 113 takes place at the end, which is with the kids again. So we actually don't ever go back to that. So there's a lot of skipping around.
There's a lot left unanswered also at the end.
Oh yeah, I mean,
right? Like we've only just done like season 6 gonna hit the ball rolling on this one, right? Like conflict is already a brewing.
Yeah, it's funny because like going into season 5, if you're a manga reader, please don't spoil it in the comments of the YouTube channel or anything. But like manga readers have been waiting us to get to this point for a couple years now.
Yeah.
And they thought it was going to be this season because we're in the Endeavor arc, and it's apparently where stuff hits the fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And stuff has hit the fan, but it's also apparently not done hitting the fan. They're like, you guys just wait.
They're like, oh wait, no, yeah, you all gotta wait longer.
Yeah. So I've only been hearing this for 2 years, but apparently it keeps going. Here's the thing. I'm not a manga reader, so I'm gonna talk about my favorite storyline, and it might not go with the arcs. I'm pretty sure that's Endeavor's son, and I think it's pretty obvious at this point.
You're pretty sure who's Endeavor's son?
Like,
Shoto's or
what?
Wait, what are you? I have lost the train here.
Okay. I don't know if I want to say this because I don't want to shatter the glass for people. So there's a fire villain, and there's a dead son.
Okay, never mind. I'm there now.
Should I say it for the listeners?
Do it.
Okay. I want to get his. I don't actually know if we have an actual name for him. Actually, I'm trying to Google his actual name instead of his villain name. And we might not actually have his real name.
One Bernie boy.
Yeah, so it's Dobby for what it's worth,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure it's just Dobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am pretty close to 100% sure now that Dobby is the dead son.
I can see it now that I'm looking at it with that eye. Right? Like this all feels like it's there.
So in the first episode, we get Dobby saying, "This is the first time we have ever met, right, Endeavor?" Like hinting at it, and then we get a constant reminder of this dead kid, that also maybe isn't dead. Don't you know what? Remember what happened to him? Like he's gone forever. He's lost.
Oh, I have the name of that son. Is
Oh yeah,
Toya.
yeah. What's his name?
Toya Todoroki.
Toya. That's right. I I am quite confident that Dobby tried to master that Endeavor move, and that's how his whole body got burnt. And that anyway, I love the Endeavor arc. I think that it is. It made me appreciate that it's not my job to. The internet has made us so good at, or so not good at it, like has broken down these barriers that need to exist, right? Like, you said it really well that nobody's their worst action or nobody's their greatest accomplishment. That's just not how life works.
And when given fictional characters who have worst mistakes and greatest accomplishments that are compelling, right? That like get us going. Like.
Wait, hold on. Toya is the dead son. What's the name of the other son?
Oh no! I was answering that part. But as in, what's his full name?
Yes. I believe that.
Right. If we haven't seen his full name, otherwise, what's the name of his full name?
I believe that he's Toya Todoroki.
Yeah.
I think that Endeavor also does a good job of starting to understand, because man, I'm not gonna be able to complete this thought. Endeavor does a good job of starting to understand that he needs to give space, and he also maybe doesn't deserve forgiveness. And it's not his. He doesn't get to require it. No. He gets to just start. I hate to steal it from Frozen too, but like he just has to do the next right thing.
Yeah.
And that's all he can do at this point. He can't go back and change the past. He can do the next right thing.
Phrasing it that way actually reminds me a lot of a different character from a very different series who has some of these similar qualities, named Dalinar from Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive, which is a fantastic read whenever
I am going to read it for what it's worth. Somebody just the other day, it was like, I can't believe you haven't read this yet. You have to do it. And I was like, all right, I will. I
just choose not to recommend to people things that I know are generally.
Aren't they like? Isn't it like 13 books or something?
Well, it's going to be the whole Sanderson library is most of a bookshelf on my bookshelves alone.
Sure.
And I'm not really that complete on it, but there are 4 out of 10 books in the Stormlight Archive, and they're all 1,000 pagers.
Sure. I will probably read it. Either way, I think that the Endeavor story is one that it's really good that it takes place in this season, because it starts to ask the question. Like, we already hated Endeavor, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think that if you watch the show and didn't hate Endeavor, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you should have. And now, the thing is that Endeavor didn't have good motivations for what there wasn't like this thing that Endeavor was trying to achieve that was like for the greater good or for.
Well, and that's such what part of the cop out of All for One, right? Like, One for All, right? Like that power has a problem, which is that in and of itself, its existence gives the owner the authority and the reason to do hero work, because like it is for the good. It's how it's like framing itself,
sure,
right? And that's something that needs to. And that's part of why it's so important to pick the right person to give it to, right?
Right.
But boy, do we not have to look at All Might's motivations in the same uncomfortable lens that we have to look at Endeavor's.
Yeah, I think
for a very specific reason.
I think that Endeavor's motivations were never good, right? And even now, he finds himself in this new place where he's like, man, he's realizing my motivations weren't good. I
have to be the best.
Yeah, and now I also
the goodest boy.
Yeah, the goodest boy is right. Like, I now have this #1 spot that I didn't earn, and I don't know what to do because I don't have my ducks in a row.
Yeah. Oh, and boy,
And
are they not. They're
and
so
I
not in a
never
row.
did.
Yeah.
And I think that it's an interesting story. I think that
Yes. Very
um
much yes.
I don't know that I like Endeavor. I like
I
that
don't know that that, why that's like such an unhelpful word when
it
referring to a
it
character this complicated.
yeah, I appreciate that Endeavor's trying to do the next right thing.
Oh yeah, and like season 5 is the best season for most of these characters to look at as to the all of the past is the past. What am I doing now? Right? I think that more than anything, characters in this season are doing that. Right? They're like all of my assumptions, all of the places I've been and the things I've been told to be, like all of that is whatever it has been. But now who do I need to be? What do I need to do and why?
I do
Is
have
absolutely what this is about.
Before we move on to your favorite storyline, I do have to acknowledge that other people do believe that Deku is actually Endeavor's other kid. Um, for what it's worth, it's another fan theory. Uh,
Ugh, that one doesn't have the same poetry to me. It's
his
not the same
his
tragedy.
father is a fire user. That's why they say
Sure,
it.
okay.
Yeah. What about you? What's your favorite storyline in this one?
Oh, I actually love the espionage. The questionable teeter totter, like, am I actually preserving my morals? Like, you know, that's the most of everything that's going on here, right? Like, how do I balance this espionage that I'm doing because I think it's going to result in the most good with the fact that doing it is absolutely slippery sloping me every darn minute I'm doing it. And I'm still like having to keep it cool in front of everyone. He has to walk such a careful line.
Are you talking about Hawks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hawks. I would just want to ask you: do you think that Best Genius is dead, or do you think that was something else? So somebody's dead, right? There's a dead body in a bag that looks like Best Genius.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even begin to guess at like how they would go about making that not Best Genius, but that's an interesting question to raise. I'm gonna say no.
I also don't think he's dead. I don't think it's him, so I'm glad.
But I will say that I find the prospect of him actually going through with it compelling from a story perspective as well.
The thing is that Hawks is interesting in the espionage way because, like, I like that you said, like, that line he has to walk, right? Like, how do I let Endeavor know what's going on without breaking...
I do love a good secret code hidden in a book. Like, that I was all
Dude,
about. And Endeavor reading was just great. Like, that part was fun, too.
Can we talk about the Singularity event, by the way, really quick before we move on from this subject? Because this is, like, kind of wild, right? So, this is, like... This is so... obviously, this was written way before 2020, right? But, like, this is the most, like, stuff that people would believe in 2020. And then also, maybe it's real, is what we're getting from the show.
Well, and even, like, the way it's worded, I mean, it's putting itself in, like, the same, like, realm of... And I actually think it's kind of lazy of, like... And not like lazy, but also like it recurs in real life as well. But like these putting a lot of effort on like the danger of a revolutionary ideology and the willingness to use force to back it up, right, is what's being laid down on the table here in this case, in the case of the season 1 bad guys of Legend of Korra. Right, like we've seen this kind of like, who are these people and what are they trying to do in ways, right?
It depends on which side you're on, right? Because there's actually multiple, like, we've got the what have you seen the new My Hero movie, by the way?
No,
Oh man. Uh, what are you
I
doing
haven't
this
seen
weekend?
any of the My Hero movies.
What are you doing this weekend? um, yeah. So I won't spoil this because I think that the new My Hero movie is great. Okay. Um, the thing that you're saying about is reversed though, right? Because what we're talking about in with the army is they want a world in which they can use their quirks,
Yeah.
whereas in core they want a world
No. That
without
that's
airbending.
what's crazy, right? Is that the ideals could be totally different of these things, but the way that we talk about these groups that are in the like the masked shady realm of messing around with new things and like a threat to our core society, right? Like basically these are just reframings of the Communist Party in
Oh yeah, they are.
the Western world, right? That's what's going on here.
I think that one of the things about the singularity event that is interesting to me is this 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 problem that exists in the world. And obviously this happened, I mean, maybe I'm not giving the writers enough credit, but like just because just because something makes sense in your head does not make it true.
Facts.
And the whole purpose of science and other, and just the scientific method, let's just talk about that, is to, question things and to use critical thinking. And I think that there's so much, I don't know, there are really good questions being asked in this season about that.
No, totally. I mean, the question of how do we legislate, how do we protect, how do we restrict, how do we um guard from
Yeah.
difference has come to a fore here, right? Like because that's what heroes are ultimately doing is they're like guarding the threshold at which like you're allowed to use your powers.
Well, and it's obvious in lots of ways that this society is broken.
Yeah.
And it is obviously art is a reflection of the world that it's built upon, right? And if you listen to Thrawn, like you can learn a lot about a society by its art. And I think that this art is telling us that our society is broken, that
Yeah.
we are not viewing different people the right way, and that's what this is telling us. Let's move on to could be betters. I have one could be better for this season. Um, and it's kind of a weird one. But it could be better for the entire series.
Mm.
And I don't know if this was a last minute plan but like I do not appreciate Shigaraki's story being shoved down my throat like that.
Hmm.
I thought that it was heavy-handed and I was not prepared for it, and I actually had a mental breakdown. Um,
When you say not shoved down your throat, like what would have what's the fix? What's the remedy? Is it over a longer time?
I
Is
don't
it
know.
in
I
a
like
better
just
way
give
or
me give me some idea that he
a
like
trigger warning? Because I think that
no.
could be real.
I mean that could have helped. That might have helped. But like I don't know. Just like show me that he like just it felt kind of thrown on in some ways that like oh he's just completely blocked this out, right? Like there's no like give me every season give me one moment that shows that he is struggling or like give me anything. It
I
felt
I felt like he always had that because he's always had the unstable quality to him. That level of like I sometimes he doesn't even know the space he's in.
yeah, I guess maybe I missed it. I don't know. It was here's the thing is
Well, he's
uh
just decided a nihilism route to dealing with tragedy, right? That's a big part of it.
yeah. I feel like you're taking my could be better and trying to fix it.
No,
Uh
I'm just interrogating it. That's
I
all.
I don't need the interrogation.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. I just like it was too much.
Yeah.
My wife and I are watching the season still, and the reason we're still watching it is that we got to a point in the show where my wife can't watch something like super sad before she goes to bed because she also gets
Sure.
bad dreams. And so we just literally haven't picked this back up together.
And a lot of your television is right before you go to bed.
Right. And it's just like, yeah, we can't watch this before you, like, we just can't. And it felt so sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just for me that it felt so sudden. Maybe West, maybe it didn't feel sudden for you, but like, it was like, hey, there's this spoiled brat that's gotten everything he's ever wanted. And the thing is that we knew some things, right? Like we knew that, like, you know, that we knew that All for One tricked him, right? But that's not how it comes across. Like, that's not even how it comes across. It literally comes across like, I don't know. I don't know. That episode was traumatic for me, and I don't even know that I processed it still. And I've watched it 2 times or 3 times now. Like, it was too much.
Sure.
For one episode with zero buildup, in a way that I think I'm not used to in My Hero. The thing is, there's like tons of episodes like this in like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. In like, I watch tons of anime that have this thing happen.
No,
right?
it's true that like
It's
Trauma
just-
Dump episode about the villain's past is actually a time-honored tradition.
Yeah, like, it was just like, it was too much. It's funny because I hear that like it doesn't even do the manga justice on like how sad it is, and I'm like, well, that's great because like I literally
didn't need more?
I didn't need more than that.
No, I don't get me wrong. I'm not diminishing it anyway. I think it did hit like a brick.
Yeah, I'm sick to my stomach right now talking about like.
Then let's move on.
No, I want to talk about it still because maybe I'm processing it live on the episode.
Great.
But life is really unfair.
Yeah.
And
that's not fun. And that's fundamentally not an excuse to be a bad person, right?
no, it's obviously not. But like
this anime and every other anime is saying, right? Like, but there's more to it.
There is a part in the Aragon series where Murtaugh is talking about like Aragon. Oh, man, I don't want to like spoil it for people who haven't read it, who are like reading along with the episodes.
How to redeem yourself?
Yeah,
when
it's just
aligned yourself with what you realize to be the wrong side, or were trapped by the wrong side.
Yeah, it's almost like, am I a bad person, or am I doing the best with what I've been given?
Yeah.
And like, Shigeru's been giving nothing.
Yeah.
And even worse than that, like the thing that he could have used as his beacon of hope was taken away from him by All Might's the previous owner of the power, like being ostracized from the, like, it's like there's a family dynamic where like the family is pretending that this person that could have been his beacon of hope doesn't exist, and then like it's just all, it was so much. And I legitimately feel bad for this character that I had no feelings for before. And that is not a could be better. It's that...
You think it went too far?
No, I just think it went too fast. I think that you could have given me... In season 1, you could have given me this moment where a line is said where he like shivers, or... or in the mall. Like, there's so many opportunities to give me glimpses into this.
Well, I will say
rather
that,
than literally putting a brick in a bag and hitting me in the face with it, felt inappropriate.
And it's also twofold, right? Because it's putting a lot on you at once, and it's denying a lot for a long time, right? Like,
right.
And that's frustrating, right? I do think that like his motivations were always the least transparent.
And honestly,
beforehand.
If your goal was to incite emotion in me, they did it.
Yeah.
Like, that worked. I just didn't.
But that's a vulnerability you grant to anything you choose to watch, right? Like,
yeah,
you especially,
true.
right? Like, You don't
No,
sit
it's
down
true.
to watch anything without accepting that it could have emotional impact on you.
I never wanted to hug a horrible piece. It's so funny. There's a this is just a I don't know if it's a weakness or a strength of mine, but like there was a just horrible human of a Magic player in Utah that had a really hard time. He got like a divorce and like all this crap was happening to him and like he was having a bad time and I just wanted to reach out to him and be nice and like the next time we saw each other he was like just tried to cheat again and like was a total dick and it was the like I don't know if I have this weakness of seeing the humanity in somebody and instantly wanting to I don't know, just thinking that they just need that one little push. It's like the what's the word for it's like when you know the stereotype of girls trying to fix bad guys. I have that just problem with people where like I just want to like maybe I can be the thing that is just nice to them and stuff. And that's all I just wanted to hug Shigaraki. And obviously you can't hug him, right? Because you'll die. But like, it was, I don't know. It was tough. What about you? Any could be betters?
Well, I mean, first off, it is cruel for nature in this world. I think is actually the source we're saying for most quirks, right? Like it's just natural evolution, right? Like this is just a thing that's happened that and the character who in X-Men who is the same thing, right, where basically anyone they touch like dies, right? Like that is a life-changing ability, and like like can't turn it off, it just happens, right? Like is a
I'm just saying
massive trauma for anybody.
Rogue never tried to end like
no I'm saying, well, don't get me wrong, right? Like, but also when Rogue's abilities developed versus when his developed, a lot less understanding of it, a lot higher need of human touch, just period. And at a point where it is regularly given by just a matter of expectation. And, human instinct and love, but also mostly just like it's going to happen, right? Like it was going to go wrong. It was going to go wrong fast, and it was going to go wrong in not understandable ways. And that is just a tragedy in and of itself that they're writing here.
What's your could be better, West?
My could be better is I'm just exploring that further. I had no interest in criticizing anything at that point. Because I agree with you that the hitting us that hard that fast was hard, and like it could stretch it out better.
The thing is like,
but it is a compelling story.
I think that if their goal was like to shake me to my core, awesome. I just don't know that I agreed to that after episode 7, or I just don't even know that I agreed to it like through the first 4 seasons. I don't even know that I agreed to it up to that point, right? Like, it was. It was.
Yeah, it was like, oh, maybe we should tell him when he's older. Maybe we should tell him when he's older.
The thing is like when you watch something like Full Metal's Brotherhood, right? You know 7 minutes into the show, like, oh well, this is something that's happening.
Yeah. The way we got where we are here now is really messed up.
Episode 2, a dad takes his dog and his daughter and like murders. Like, come on. Like, that show, you realize right away, oh, okay, this is what I signed up for.
And because it's so early, it's like a meme known around the world, right? Like,
that is not my hero.
Yeah, that's true.
And like, all of a sudden, I gotta be quiet because like my wife has not seen this episode, but like all of a sudden, this small abused child who is like has the saddest story all of a sudden like murders the person closest to him and doesn't know what's going on, murders the next person, and then is confronted by his abuser and I was like, you know what, actually maybe I will. Like, it is like
nothing's real anymore anyways,
it's
right? Like,
too much. It's too much.
All right. My could be betters. I mean, I really love this show, and I think that like it took me in places that I couldn't have advised it in, right? Like this season had things in mind that I couldn't have supplanted, right? Like I couldn't have thought of anything close to as interesting as that. And that in and of itself is like pretty great and hard to criticize. Um
You don't have to have one for what
I
it's worth.
don't have one. I really
It's
don't. Like I think
I had a pretty big feeling watching this season that it would be your favorite season so
it's
far.
true that it narratively works out the way I want it.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
fun
really funny
stuff in the
considering
front, shit gets real in the back.
The best part of this whole thing is that your could be better for the last season is how the last season, like, I don't like it. It's not a concise story. And then like you're like, oh my god.
For what it's worth, you just take the hype from last season, put it into this season, and there's my complaint, right? It's not. It's a bad distribution of hype, is what I'm saying.
No, it's not. I have so many love-its for this season, but I'm gonna let you go first because I'm gonna rapid fire mine.
I love structured games. Love a chance for everyone to show off what they've done lately. I love getting deeper on the villains because we love relatable villains on this show where they can be found. I don't know. I really had a good time with all of it. I think that My Hero Academia is fantastic. I don't know. I'm a huge fan.
I have a few pretty big love-its. I love the vestiges moments and like this I really appreciate this thing being more than just a piece of hair that Deku ate, right? Like it is this All Might kind of explains it in season 1, but like it is two quirks combining, right? The ability to take on multiple quirks, the ability to pass on multiple quirks, plus this other thing.
Yeah.
And then what's really funny is that this is the first time that this is manifesting itself, right? Where you start to learn more about what Deku can become and how he can be different.
Grow past All Might.
Yeah. Grow past and be different than All Might, right?
Yeah.
And also, we learn straight up just why is this so much harder for Deku than it was for All Might? And it's because every time it passes, it takes everything that All Might has and
All Might pushed it far. Yeah. That's I think a big part of it.
Yeah, it's really true. Yeah, so like I really love the one for all stuff in this. I am going to be 100% honest that if this show... So I have had part of My Hero spoiled for me because of TikTok.
And now you're threatening to do it for all of us.
I'm not going to do it for anybody on the show. But I want to say a declarative statement that if Uraraka and Deku do not end up together, I will throw away everything I have of My Hero.
Wow.
That is the cutest couple to ever exist. Everyone who ships Bakugo and Uraraka are that you need to go into a mental hospital. Hold on, I'm not done.
No, I'm just trying to process.
Uraraka is exactly what Deku needs. And Deku is exactly what she needs. And obviously these are like 15-year-olds but it's not my fault that's how the writers are writing it. And obviously Japan is different. I think they're age.
And they briefly entertained her not being a 15-year-old. So also like that's already complicated.
Well, they were actually both older for what it's worth.
Oh, okay, sure.
So originally, I think they were both senior students at 18 years old.
Oh, okay, but
in the original writing,
plot makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So originally, they were both 18 years old, entering high school, or maybe he was a junior and she was a senior. Either way, they originally they were both older. Anyway, Uraraka is this. Her name, for what it's worth, means goodness or something. Like it is literally her personality is that of comfort, and I don't know what about this character I love so much, but like I feel like if if she gave me a hug, I'd feel better. And the fact that she like wants to be a hero that does that fits her so well.
Yeah.
And the fact that like Deku wants to be a hero that gives hope fits him so well because he's full of hope. And I this season and some of the moments showed that better than other moments. And obviously we're getting, I mean, as for those who don't know, the manga is going to end next year, which means we're probably getting 2 to 3 more seasons total. I would guess 2 for what it's worth, because they do a lot of the manga really quickly in this show. It's really fast paced.
That's just how it works.
Yeah. So we're maybe getting 2 more seasons of the show, which is why I think that they made such a huge push for this interaction between, like, that moment where she's hugging him and like like it is very clear that they're like, okay, we're gonna either set you up for complete heartbreak or make you really happy.
Yeah, true. Probably both over time.
It's probably both. I really loved that moment. I thought that like that moment where she does a really good job of like questioning what it will take for her to be that comfort hero, right? That person who brings comfort to those while being a rescue hero, while being I mean, that's hard, right? Being a rescue hero is like, I can't, like, think of being a firefighter and like, or a nurse, like all of these frontline heroes that we have today. And Uraraka's job is that she wants is to be the face that they see as their, in some of their worst moments. So, my other love-its for this are just the Toga and Twice interactions. I thought that was really great. I thought the whole thing was, when Twice just pops off and like the whole fight changes, was great writing, really funny. It was really good. And then I'll give another shout out to I'll give our first shout out to an episode that we didn't even mention, which is the single episode. I should pull it up, but just when it was actually we had actually watched the next episode. We actually had to switch shows because we watched that episode, then we watched something else, so that everyone could go to sleep. But just the the new power, not this one. It's this one. Is it even after that? It's the one where they have to go to the prison to see if their friend was dead. It's more than a hero than anyone. Where Izawa and President Mike go to the prison.
To talk to All for One.
No, not for all. To talk to Kogagiri.
Oh, right, yeah.
Kurogiri, to see if he was the corpse of their friend.
Yeah.
And he was, and it was. I remember the first time I watched the episode. I've seen it I think 3 times now. One of the things that, I guess this is a different level. One of the things this season did a really good job of is it really, really made me hate All for One. Like,
oh yeah, no, he's like at the center of everyone's tragedy.
It's so funny because like I think in our when we were writing our villain bracket, we were like, he's not even interesting, and now I'm like, no, I like.
Well, that's because he's the least interesting the most when he's the most involved in front of you. Right?
Yeah.
Hearing about his machinations over years and decades.
Yeah, it's
are way scarier.
It's nuts. And I'll give a little other love it. If you watch episode 1 of My Hero Academia, Deku goes to the doctor. And they take a picture of his foot, and I'm pretty sure the doctor in episode 1 of My Hero is the same doctor that works for All for One.
That's interesting.
So go look at that. Those are probably my biggest love-its. Do you want to rate this thing?
Oh, whew. I
0 to
rated a
5.
whew.
You rated a woo? 0 to
Like
5. I am going to give this season a 5. While I do believe that hit me like a truck, I am not going to pretend like I could have done better. I don't know what I'm not the one writing the show, and um maybe it was, I don't know. Maybe there should have been a trigger warning. Maybe I'll give it a 4.5. Give me a trigger warning before the episode. Just be like, "Hey, you know what? We know that we've been getting darker, but it's about to
yeah, be ready for this one.
yeah, it's about to be a little different."
And like it could be like a narrative one, right? Like that's the thing, is it could be like, so then we were looking at all of this, and this was getting hard, right? Like it could totally be like in Midoriya's
I
voice
yeah,
or whatever, right?
I
Like,
wish that something else had happened. I'll still give it a 5. I think that it is.
yeah,
I assume you agree. I assume this is actually your favorite season of the show.
it's 5 for 5, baby.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's quite a few things to love. We didn't mention it, but like if you watch the season again, anyone who hasn't watched it, there's actually it actually says My Villain Academia during that arc and has like a separate like decrepit opening. There's so many really cool little things that this season does. It is, things got real. We just went from like Dragon Ball into, I don't even know, like into Brotherhood. I think is like the transition, or like maybe Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament art. I don't know. Like it got so dark so fast.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing is you go from like, oh, we're learning to use our quirks to like.
Yeah. Season 1 to the end of season 2. Like season 2 is where we really start to get like a little dark for the first time.
Stain is pretty dark, right? Like,
That's what I'm saying,
man.
right? Like
yeah, and you're like, oh man, like Stain's kind of that's
like I would say that the show is darkest when those that the society is casting as the villains feel the most like compelling to us, right? Like the most like their motivations are understandable. They're like, you know, making a different choice than most people would make, but like you understand how they got there and why they're doing it and what they want and who it is for and how it's not just in the pursuit of like supreme corrupted power.
I love this season. It almost felt like a different show, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, the once the Endeavor stuff started, after the joint classes are, oh, also huge love it. We should have said this, but just like those battles between the classes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, like just unbelievably fun.
Yeah, just absolutely one of the most fun.
Like tense, like, you know, like
yeah.
I love a good high tension, no
stakes.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It was good. I think that it just once you start asking the questions that Endeavor asks, it's a different show. You're just like you're watching a different show, and it's not like tough questions weren't asked before, right? Like you got Coda asked really tough questions. Like, true. You know, he was like, I don't want to be a hero. I wish my parents weren't heroes. But this is something else. This is society is broken. It's breaking people. We are a victim of our circumstances. Yeah. Can it even be fixed?
Yep. And that's where we leave this season, right? Like that's the crazy part, right? Like, it's like and like that, you know, that's as good a place as any for us to leave it, right? Yeah. Like leave our conversation. It's we're fives around it. If you're watching this now, if you're watching us right now and you haven't seen it yet, be aware.
Yeah, we
tell your warning. Tell your friends about the one episode. Do everyone a favor, but we are all anticipating when we can have this next conversation where we have season 6 within us, but that's not going to be for a while.
Fall of 2022, first episode should come out. So
it's not that long then. It's basically already fall.
I mean the rate at which pandemic time moves, it is tomorrow and also in 5 years.
Yeah, it is tomorrow and never. I agree. Yeah, yep.
Where can people find you, West?
Oh, you can find me at East_monotone on Twitter, MONOTONNE. You can find me in the Heezy Game Media Discord. You can find me in person in Salt Lake City. I live here. I don't know. Don't come to my house.
You can, yeah, that would be weird. You can find me at, personal boundaries, people. Personal boundaries. You can find
You
me
know,
at,
on a second thought, you can't come find me.
we did on episode 300 of Constructive Criticism. We did this segment, right? Where people find you, and the first person was Casey Bloodworth, and he says, "You don't need to find me." That was. It's like, it was really funny.
That's good.
Anyway, you can find me at Spencer30H. You can find me as well on the Constructive Criticism podcast. I have already started a series on Valheim where I try and beat the entire game this year on solo mode. I'm my editor that edits Constructive Criticism and some of my other podcasts and other projects. I've given him too much work, so he can't edit the series. So I'm looking for a new editor for that. But I have some people in mind that are interested. So anyway, you can find me on the YouTube channel here, where as soon as I find an editor, we'll get stuff up again bi-weekly. I'll also be doing Constructed Clash and Smash Best of Fives, one on the Constructed Criticism YouTube channel, one here on this YouTube channel. Best of Fives being in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate with Matt Kling. Yeah, and then you can find me every week on this show. So we have two options for next week's show, West, or 2 weeks from now show. You ready? You're gonna pick live on the air for these people.
I realize.
Yeah. So what is technically scheduled is Star Wars sequels.
Okay.
The one after that is Pokemon Arceus First Impressions. So hold on. But we also have a guest episode that we need to schedule where Matt Kling will be doing our Need to Nerd Super Smash Bros.
Oh, true.
I think we should get Arceus.
I will be going to acquire Pokemon Arceus tomorrow, and I will be no-lifing this weekend, but I'm not really sure yet.
Okay. Okay, so next week will be Pokemon, or 2 weeks from now will be Pokemon Arceus First Impressions.
Good deal.
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Like, sub, leave a comment. Let us know. If you don't like Pokemon Arceus, you don't like Star Wars sequels, don't leave a comment about that, actually. I just don't actually want to read that. Don't like Matt Kling? Leave a comment. Let us know.
Yeah, that rag on Matt Kling. Come do it in the Discord where we can monitor it more effectively.
Yeah. No,
but also we need to sharpen our ability to do that. So let's practice together. Sometime.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Like, sub, leave a review, leave a comment. Those are the number one ways you can help. Check out the Discord. Check out the Patreon. Thank you so much. And keep it plus ultra.